Everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. First off, I want to thank those of you who give me ideas of topics to talk about. When you film 52, in this case, 52 What's Up Wednesdays in a year, it's nice to have some fresh content. And I know that the biggest contributor for me to topics is our resource manager, Melanie Taylor, who sends great ideas. This particular idea or topic is, I guess the title of it is, how am I creating the situation that I do not want? And I think that we all are faced with this, and everybody's going to be able to relate to it. The first thing I'd like to say is that I know with me by nature, I have a tendency to respond emotionally very quickly when there's an issue. When something goes wrong, when somebody does you wrong, I tend to kind of dive in both feet with emotion. And if you look at this, oh, wrong side. If you look at this sign right here on my wall, it says, is it necessary? Will it make a difference? Could it cause harm? And I tend to like to use those three filters on any kind of an action or response because I think they're really, really critical to being able to formulate a response on something. I'm sure everybody can relate to a situation where it's caused externally, meaning somebody does something, something happens, and then we're faced with a decision to respond to that. Now, a lot of these situations tend to be frustrating situations. And I think that generally they involve us, the receiver of the information, responding with a bias. Example might be that somebody who works for you quits without notice, or you hire somebody for a job in our case, and they don't show up for their flight to mobilize to a job site. Somebody acts very unprofessionally. Somebody does something who's under your care, unexpected, something very inappropriate, whatever it may be. But often these are situations that are caused by by the action of somebody else. And then we're forced to look inward at the situation and our response and how, we're going to react to that situation. Now, the worst thing, in my opinion, we can do is let that situation completely dominate our psyche, meaning we get completely derailed and it basically takes ownership of our life for a period of time, whatever that period of time would be. All that energy spent negatively doesn't do us any good. And I think we all know that, but that's also a very rational approach to a frustrating situation or a situation where something didn't go well, somebody did you wrong, whatever it might be. But again, a very frustrating situation. And I think it's really important for us to realize that our actions, our mindset, or our pattern of contributing to the negativity of the situation will only compound it. And when we look at that, I think the first thing is to break it down. We've received information. That may not be all the information. Are we reacting and responding immediately, or are we stopping, taking a breath, kind of putting together a plan, and then asking questions with curiosity to try to figure out what the situation is? So that, there's so many different examples again that we can use, and I think everybody can relate to it, but it really comes down to our response. And we can either make the situation better by approaching it with curiosity and looking for solutions, or we can fall into this pattern of negativity, into somewhat of a nosedive where we're looking for blame. We let anger take control of us and we react or respond in an emotional manner, which in the long run isn't really going to be of any benefit. So think about that. We have the opportunity to respond and create a situation that we want, not a situation that we don't want, something that's going to be worse than what it was prior. And I'll never forget, and I know I've mentioned this, but in 2008, I was at Wind Power in Dallas, Texas, and I listened to George W. Bush being interviewed up on stage in front of me. And he mentioned that oftentimes he would start his day off faced with somebody coming to him saying, Mr. President, we have a problem. And here's the problem, and here are your two options for a solution. And he would look at that person and say, both of those options are terrible. And the person would respond by saying, correct, but you have to pick one of those two options. And it was funny because he was so humorous, but you could relate to what he was saying. It's like, look, I've been handed a crap sandwich and now I have to eat this thing. So think about that. We're going to be faced with frustrating situations. We're going to be faced with problems on a regular basis. It's part of life. How are we going to contribute to a positive outcome and approach that in a manner that's constructive, as opposed to letting that situation own us and take us out of our game and knock us off of our feet and literally control our day, our week, whatever it may be. So think about that. Hopefully there's some value in that. We'll see you next Wednesday.